What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff, arm yourselves, life stuff. I've been thinking about a repeating pattern, and it's a pattern in women I deal with, specifically the ones who play me for attention. And this is a side note, although I think it's all connected. One conclusion I've come to regarding women is most will cheat on you, depending on how you define cheating. And it's not like you're not aware of this. One of my favorite things Patrice O'Neill used to talk about was cheating between the sexes. When a man cheats, more often than not, it's like a random act of violence. Or like hyper antisocial shit. If a man is going to cheat, he's going to cheat because he can. And this isn't to say all men cheat the same way I'm not saying all women cheat. Again, depending on how you define cheating. Whereas women cheat because their men upset them in some way. Or things aren't going the way they want them to go. And they can't just leave, they have to do something shitty on the way out. Because once a woman has gotten to the point she will retaliate in this way, whatever you had is already done. Either she'll hurt you and force you to leave if you have any pride or any dignity, or she'll hurt you and see if you'll roll over, which if you do, if you forgive. Forgiveness is a funny thing because typically if you're going to forgive someone, or if someone wants forgiveness, there's this understanding that's not going to happen again. But that's not the way this works. This is a punk test. Because remember, if she's doing this at all, it's because she hates you. And if you're enough of a pussy to let it happen, she'll spend the remainder of the relationship further humiliating you, teaching you a lesson. Now, I have encountered the situation in which she does this, but the dude is so based, he doesn't care, and that seems like it creates a special hell for the woman doing this. And from an outside perspective, that's funny, but you need to be careful, because she's going to take that out on somebody. I don't know why women can't walk away until they have hurt you. But what I meant earlier by what you define as cheating is a lot of women in relationships will go to other dudes looking for attention, looking for intimacy, and that's bad for everybody. That was what happened in one of my most painful relationships. That situation was a little different. She was playing the very long game to hurt a dude who had hurt her. She wasn't with him, but the mechanics of what she was doing was the same as all these other cases. And I think that's part of where this attention vortex women thing comes from. Hoflation is a word that is already overused, but I've never used it before, so I'm going to hop on this train while it's still rolling. I think a lot of women are playing Pokemon, and I've been trying to figure out what's going on from my singular position in all of this. What's going on based on the effects I'm experiencing from it. Now, a passive-aggressive jab framed as an observation, this is another thing that hurt me. It's never direct attacks that hurt me, unless you seem very stupid and very normal and very hit-and-runish, also very accurate if you can be. It's the passive-aggressive stuff that really irritates me. Especially when it's true. Why not stab me in the stomach instead of throwing a knife like the introduction to Sekiro? If you beat the intro boss, the knife comes flying out of nowhere. Why do that? I guess because it is hurtful or annoying. Well, it's annoying and it's worse when it manages to be hurtful. And I think there are two camps of things that are hurtful. One camp is powerlessness. Something can be hurtful if someone tries to disempower you or does disempower you or alludes effectively to your powerlessness. That's why I hate arguing with normie people, because in the face of the mob, you are powerless. Whatever you think, even if you're right, I love the geocentric versus heliocentric thing. Even if you are a heliocentric person, if the mob doesn't agree with you, then you're shit out of luck. And that's hurtful when people use it against you, as if the fact all the Joe and Jane dipshits believe in something means you're wrong or there's something wrong with you. That's very hurtful, that's very upsetting, because you can't do anything about it unless you're willing to go out like a hero. The other camp of hurtful shit is the stuff that is true, but you haven't accepted yet, or you don't want to accept, but it's still true. That's very hurtful. And one of these true hurtful passive-aggressive digs was the fact I can be baited into giving an imbalanced attention deal upon receipt of attention. If you give me 1 point of attention, I'll give you 3. Usually, not always. It needs to be tasty attention, interesting attention. But still, this is a vulnerability of mine. Because, in my experience, all my best relationships happened because I liked who liked me. I'm not a try to convince someone to like me person. That seems like the biggest waste of time. It seems very degrading. In my best relationships, I received, I gave, I received, I gave, scaling upward. Today, it's different. Today, you'll receive 1 point, you'll give 2 points, and then you'll receive 1 point, and then you'll be confused, and then you'll give 2 points, and then it goes on like this. Sometimes they'll give you 3 points, and you'll give them 1 point, but that's not the standard. By the end, you'll have lost more time and energy than you've given, or than you've received. And this happens repeatedly, and it's true, or it hurt because it was true, because it's pathetic. And it keeps happening. Worse, now that a new pattern has arisen, maybe it's always been there, but I haven't been aware of it, that these women are doing this to take revenge on their boyfriends. And it makes me feel gross on the one hand. It's irritating on another, because another good soldier, brother man. Oh, I hate brother man. That's a disgusting word. I can't believe that came out of my mouth. Brother in arms, I think is what I was trying to say, is getting punked by the means of my getting punked. But that got me thinking, why can't I beat this vulnerability? And I realized it probably has everything to do with love languages. My top 2 receiving love languages are quality time and physical touch, and my top 2 giving love languages are acts of service and quality time. And I think that is the recipe, that is the blueprint for being an easy mark. Because all you have to do is give me quality time, or if you're in person, physical touch. And that's a weird thing when you realize that. When you realize that physical touch has a really big influence on you. People who touch me not even in a sexual or romantic way, but just touch me. Friendlily. I like them more even if I hate them. And I hate that. But anyway, all you need to do is, and that passive aggressive dig was absolutely right. It's pathetic. Give me a little bit of attention, which is what I want, quality attention, and then I'll give you a lot of what dumb bitches seem to be looking for these days. I will give you valuable attention and I will do valuable things for you. I'm not going to give you a bunch of valuable shit, thank God. I am a gift giver, but that's more of a professional thing. Thank God I'm not a love language gift giver. I'll analyze things for you. I will read your cards. I will give you high quality, high focus attention on you. And all you need to do is pay good attention to me or spend good time with me enough sometimes. Doing it occasionally will get me, or will get some attention, but the people who take good advantage of me, it's like they know exactly how much to give you and still receive what you're giving them over a long enough period of time. And I've been going back and analyzing shit from this love language perspective. Because I know love languages are super important. They're one of the very important typologies. But because it's called love languages, it feels, the flavor in your mouth is the same flavor astrology had before you knew to fear astrology. It's like a foo-foo type. Well, to most people, all typologies are foo-foo. But in typology spheres, love languages feel almost like a joke because it's so simple. But that's also probably why it's so important. And I've been on a Hannibal Lecter kick lately. The 4TV cut of Silence of the Lambs is available for free on YouTube. I've watched that a couple times, even though I understand it's an inferior cut. I watched Hannibal. That's also free. That was more like a cartoon comic book for women who want to be Minotaur fucked. Fun, not what I was looking for. It looks like Red Dragon is good. I've watched a bunch of clips of that, but that's not free. And I don't know why I have a hard time sitting down to watch movies. There was a Booster Gold. I was watching a video about Booster Gold, and apparently there was a joke about people from the time he was in not really watching movies because they're too long. Like, he watched the first 10 minutes of Jurassic Park, and he said that was a slog to get through the first 10 minutes. Maybe that's how I feel about movies. I can watch them, I can set aside 2 hours to watch a movie, but I need to be in the right mood. Because it's not like The Sopranos. I can pick up and put down The Sopranos easy. But to sit down and watch a movie, I don't like picking those up and putting them down. Anyway, I haven't watched Red Dragon yet, but that looks like a return to form. But I've been thinking a lot about the line, the Marcus Aurelius thing that he quotes. Ask of each particular thing, what is its nature? And I refined, well, he says it, but he doesn't outline it in a way that you can pick up and use like a tool, which is what I've done here. With every person, create a subject-verb for them. What is its nature? What does it do? Or rather, what does everything a person does, what does that stem from? And usually you can pin it down to a subject and a verb. Buffalo Bill covets. Skimmerlit compensates. You can dress it up in self-awareness, you can make it fun, you can try to make it interesting, have a good time with it, but that doesn't change what it is. That guy who hurt my feelings very badly, which is super duper gay. Wow, embarrassing. How that this was able to happen. And why was this able to happen? Because a man was, for a while, meeting your emotional needs better than women were. Embarrassing. What is his nature? He hides. What was that sociopath INFJ's nature? And this was fascinating. She hurts. And that shouldn't be a surprise, but you look at all the other ASPDs, and when you playing this game, looking at them, looking back at them, it's weird, a little funny, because a lot of those subject verbs are not kind, and a lot of them did a lot of hurting, but that was incidental. She was the only one who purely, she hurts. I always go back to that alien clip. I admire its purity. Why am I not furious? Because it was such a pure thing. But I was analyzing her again from the love language perspective. How did she hurt me as well as she did? She gave me pearlescent quality time in excess. And she waited until the exact moment I got comfortable. And it's crazy how she knew this, because I don't think I indicated it in any way that I had gotten comfortable. But I can recall it's so surgical, it's so clinical, it's so pure, it's beautiful. I can recall the exact moment I felt comfortable, and within 30 minutes of that, she pulled the plug. I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I was fighting with the Murfree brood. There is an area by, I think, one of the rivers. There is a spike pit trap, and that was irritating me. And that was the moment I got comfortable. And within 30 minutes, she said, I'm going to take some time, and then disappeared. And I think I held out for a while. It might have been longer. I'm going to say at least 5 days I held out. No word, no checking in, no nothing. It might have been longer than that. But at minimum, it was 5 days. And I was in so much emotional pain and uncertainty, turmoil from being unplugged from her. And halfway, too. That's the most brutal unplugging. I bailed completely. Because it was too much for me to handle. And then the rest of the saga played out, but that was the apex. When I review the files, that was the singular brilliant moment. There were other little sufferings, little pains, but that was the horror. I got comfortable, and then I got stabbed. And everything after that was spasming or getting prodded here or there. Nothing close to the brilliance of that moment. But how was that able to happen? It was because my primary love language was quality time. These other women, they play at it, they irritate me, they parasitize my attention, and I can do something about it, but it takes me a while. None have been able to stab me that well. But I don't think these other ones are trying to stab me, is the thing. There are levels to this shit. Being crushed is almost an honor. Well, it's not almost an honor, it is an honor. It's a badge of honor. And I'm annoyed that I feel that way. That is such a confusing set of emotions. I feel confident someone will give her what is coming to her, and that feels settled in my mind, more than I thought it did. Live by the sword, die by the sword is some real shit. Maybe die by the sword, live by the sword is another inversion, but wherever there's a sword, some sword shit is going to be going on. But I'm thinking about this vulnerability that keeps getting exploited by these lesser, lower level, less brilliant women. Well, I always knew the first thing my mother said to my father when they met was something hostile, ballsy, snarky. Recently, I learned my paternal grandfather and grandmother, they met when my grandmother said something not hostile but ballsy to my grandfather. So maybe it's a genetic instinct to take most interest in ballsy women who are noting you. But the issue is signaling isn't signaling anymore. Actually, you can't just look. You have to pass the vibe check to get into the Discord server. But once you do, you can look at the way I interact with women. With women who are not signaling in any way, I'm neutral and polite-ish. But the moment I receive a signal, something is going to happen. And what I mean by a signal, or what I think signals are generally, from women to men, is a woman has keyed into what you like, and she has elected to give it to you. Women exist in this passive-aggressive haze, this smokescreen of unaccountability. Very irritating. But it is really hard to miss when they send you a clear signal, because it's a shot across the bow. You'll see people talk about the way women send these super subtle signals, they're super easy to miss. She's giving you hints, but they're not really hints to anybody, even to other women. Their evaluation. That's shit. When a woman badly wants you to be interested, she will make you interested. One of the benefits of being fucking nuts is you can go, or a woman can go, from being Miss Shy Wallflower, full of self-doubt, to ballsy Miss Shot across the bow the moment she's actually interested. That's another thing I'm learning is there's a level of why you need to work out when you're dealing with women, but past that point, really you need to be focusing on the what and the what for, and then the why, if you pay attention to it at all. But that's the thing. I don't know what the deal with that is. We're not even talking about the why, we're trying to figure out the what for. We have the what. Women will key into your love language and then send you, consciously, very clearly, a tailored signal to get your attention. And in the past, that was a wife sort of move, or at least a girlfriend sort of move. But that's not the case anymore. So we have the what for, attention, yes, taking advantage of your love language to get attention. But is that really it? That's what hurts my brain. That's what is difficult to figure out. Because I think to send a signal like that And not some half-assed one. You can tell when a woman is half-assing it or two-thirds assing it. To send a full ass signal, that takes attention and insight, awareness. Are you really, or are women really, going to key into some dude just to get attention from him? The easy answer is yes, because that's what they're doing. But I feel like I'm missing something. This feels like a violation of something sacred. This feels like hitting a woman just to hit a woman. She gives you a reason. Connery, Starship Troopers, maybe a smack wouldn't hurt. But to beat on a woman just because you can, that feels like a violation. In the same way, this corruption of the sacred signal feels like a violation too. Are they interested, but just enough and only just enough to sell it well? If that's the case, then that feels like some Revolver Ocelot self-brainwashing shit. Oh, also, this is a tangent. I was thinking about making a full video about this, but this wouldn't fill up a full video. Foid as a word has gotten popular, but I don't know how. Maybe I had a Mandela effect recently. Did you know Mandela is spelled with one L? Did you know Carmela from The Sopranos, that's spelled with one L? People are saying Foid means female android. I was always under the impression it was female mongoloid. And that feels a lot more insulting than female android, but the female android interpretation seems to piss women off more than female mongoloid. What's offensive about an android? A mongoloid is a much worse thing to be, if I had to be one or the other. You know it's bad when normies are gentrifying misogyny. But anyway, back to hating women professionally. With my between 20 and 30% female viewership, depending on the day. I know women hate women, but is that ramping up again? I'm very vulnerable to being strung along when someone knows how to key into what I care about and also has a good sense of how much to give and when to give it. Because as much as I hold these women in contempt, I'm not calling them stupid. You'll sometimes see painfully boring or unimpressive women try to pull this shit on me. And it has almost no effect. Or the same effect you'd have when a mosquito bites you. They need some level of finesse and some level of valuable shit to mete out. What I'm saying is, the women who are able to string me along well have partnership potential. You wouldn't be able to keep my attention or get it in the first place otherwise. So why use that potential to get into this holding pattern? And where did the wife women go? I hate that women will put you in take them seriously mode with no intention of being taken seriously. They're doing petty shit or they're doing ugly shit, but to do that requires a level of insight or a level of mastery that feels grossly misused on such low bullshit. But that's women, I guess. My problem is I assume if there is a problem in the what, then I need to go back to the why to figure out what's wrong there, because if you can correct the flaw in the why, then the what will adjust accordingly. But that's not the way women work. They start at the what. with some care given, or maybe in some cases a lot of care given to the what for, but not the why. And the why and the what for are not the same thing. And I haven't decided what to do about it. I recognize the vulnerability rests in my love languages, but I can't change those. And if I filter out women I like or who know what I like, then I'm guaranteed never to get what I'm looking for because I'm blocking the only sort of things I like. I think the answer is not to think about the why at all, even though I'm going to think about it anyway. We've been thinking about it. I think the only answer is not to be strung along, which is brutal, because because when you're being strung along, at least you're tasting some of this maybe, this delicious maybe. And it is delicious because, like I said, I think this is in the blood, plus it's held true my entire life. I am not, none of my good relationships have come from going out and getting a woman. This is probably in the blood. It comes from, my best relationships have come from, we call it gardening, but really what's happening is you're peacocking to ballsy women, meaning you don't have constant access to what you want, which is why maybe, or Patrice O'Neill implied pussy tastes so good, because this is not an everyday thing. Because what when you get exactly what you want via this method, there aren't words for how good it is, which is why you're willing to be taken advantage of in maybe land. Because if a woman can sell you specifically, maybe well, then she has potential. But if she doesn't give you that potential completely and almost immediately, then it's not a good maybe and it's not going anywhere. So you might as well not treat it as maybe. And that doesn't mean throw it away, but that doesn't mean allow yourself to be strung along either. It's experiment time again. But yeah, people talk all this shit about romance and falling in love and realizing your feelings after all this time, whatever. Maybe that's true for other people. For me, that's dumb shit. It's dumb shit. All my really good relationships got serious fast. And maybe that runs in the blood too. My paternal grandfather and grandmother I mentioned. The way they met, he was in the Navy. He was in California, and my grandmother had graduated recently, and she was going to the beach every day with her friends. And for a few days in a row, they would walk by my grandfather going to the beach, and he would whistle at them. And then after a few days, my grandmother walked up to him and said, "Are you going to whistle at me, or are you going to ask me out?" And he liked that. And 2 weeks later, they were married. Very irresponsible, super rocky, rough, dreadful, abusive relationship that spawned monsters such as their children and their grandchildren like me. But they never got divorced, and they loved each other until they died. My parents, they met in a bar. I like their story a bit better because it goes to show. Well, I'll tell the full story. Fuck it. My mother was leaving. She was going to move out of state, far away, and this was her last night to have fun with her friends before she left. My father, he was having a bad moment or something, and his bartender friend said, "Come down, I'll give you free drinks, but I want to try out some drinks just to get him out of the house." So he was at the bar, didn't really want to be there, but was getting free drinks. My mother was going to leave, and it was a raspberry or blueberry, some kind of weird bluish fluorescent drink. My mother said something to the effect of, "Kind of a gay looking drink you're drinking there." So she drank a little bit of it, and then they had this weird, hostile energy thing going on. And then after that night, she decided not to move out of state. She had all these plans. That one weird, hostile night, and she decided, no, I'm gonna stay here and see what happens with this dude I met one time. Which is the dumbest, most irrational shit I've ever heard of. But under a year later, they were married. And no divorces. They popped out a rotten mess little wasp of a child. But the older I get, the more I realize I am basically a reflection of them. It's so terrible. My point in saying this is two things. One, getting together fast and in weird, hostile, forward circumstances runs in the family. And also, when a woman is into you, it's an irrational thing. She will make herself available to you easily and irrationally. And I still think about Miss Epstein. I'm looking back at this with almost 30 eyes now. I think I could have convinced her to have kids, and I think she wanted to be convinced to have kids. My problem is I expect women to be accountable to what they say and to want to be accountable to what they say, which is huge, huge mistake on my part. I don't know how I'm going to go about correcting that, but I think I'm going to have to. I wish this weren't so difficult. My main issue is everybody hides what they want or what they think or what they mean under so much shit. Useful, productive communication becomes impossible. And this is the way it is with most people. And I don't know why they're like this. Why don't you just say what you mean or what you want? Especially when you're in a situation in which that's not just okay, but preferred. I can understand doing that obfuscation shit out in civilian life because you have to. But why would you choose to be that way when you don't need to be that way? That's sickening. It's gross. I hate it. I hate you. I hate people like that. I don't understand this, why people are like this. And I hate them for it. But I'm tired, and we will cut it here. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.